If you've watched my previous videos, you will have encountered the subcounter that I show with almost every video. Now the problem with it is it's too wide, it's too loose, the components are too far from each other, it doesn't look nice, it's not presentable, and sometimes the wires get disconnected from the pins when I store it. Now because I don't have the experience in 3D printing or making PCBs, I'm going to take it slow and introduce a protoboard onto the build. I'm going to be moving the I2C, the LCD display and the ESP32 onto a protoboard that has 18 pins on one side and 24 pins on the other. I'm going to try to make it so that it ends up looking like this, where the ESP32 is on the side that's elevated and the LCD display is on the bottom. The problem with this one is that the I2C model is meant to go at the back, and when doing so it's going to end up causing slight elevation on the LCD side. Now the connection between the I2C and the LCD is going to be no problem, they're both going to be soldered through the protoboard. However, the connection between the I2C and the ESP is going to be a little bit weird, where I'm still going to be using the female to female jumper wires. This may lead to the wires sticking out on the bottom, and we'll see how that ends up looking. Now before I get into desoldering and soldering of the pins, consider giving this video a like, and while you're at it, consider subscribing. If you wish to join the small community that I'm trying to build, there's going to be my Discord linked in the description. Now the first thing I have to do is dismantle version 0.1. It's going to be quite sad, but you know, it is what it is. But it did serve its job, and it's just going to be getting a small upgrade. And I'm going to begin by separating the LCD and the I2C module. And after around 30 minutes of going at it, I finally separated the I2C with the LCD display, and they both look atrocious. And now from here on, I'm only going to be soldering the minimum amount of pins. So between the protoboard and the ESP32, I'm only going to be soldering 4 pins. But for the I2C and LCD, I have to maintain a connection between all the pins, so I have to go through the process of connecting all of them through the solder. Now since I'm restricted on space on the protoboard, I'm going to be soldering the ESP32 board first. Now since I'm going to be connecting the ESP32 to the I2C module through wires, I'm going to make sure that I expose the pins on the ESP32 correctly and not solder them. Now I'm going to solder the LCD display on top and have the I2C module on the bottom. To begin, I wet the pins with flux. This is just to ease the process of soldering. I did increase the temperature of my soldering iron to 450, which is a dramatic increase to what I used before, I think was 330. And after doing so, I did notice that the solder sticks better to the pins. However, I'm not sure how much is accredited to the flux. And I did connect the pins in the same layout as the previous video for the subcounter. However, I do have the intention of hiding the jumper wires as they do look out of place. And after the ESP32 has been powered, I can tell that the subcounter works properly, it even shows my subscribers.